Hey, thanks for joining us on the Recovery Valve podcast. I'm in the studio today in Augusta, Georgia, and I have a fantastic guest I can't wait for you guys to hear from, Miss Arlina Allen. Now, Miss Allen and I spoke probably a couple weeks back, and she actually did like a pre-interview for me, and I'm like, well, you're coming on my podcast too. Is that right?
Absolutely.
But I think I said all the right things. But I do want to dive right in, Miss Allen. Thanks for everyone that's listening to the Recovery Valve podcast. If you're not listening on our YouTube channel, you can do so by following us on all of our social medias. And then when this episode comes out, I'll make sure the producers see this, and we'll make sure that Miss Allen's contacts on her socials and all that are present. Just jump right in, Miss Allen. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing very well. I'm loving that you're calling me Miss Allen. I feel so special.
That's that Southern. Okay, that's that
Southern.
My mom would walk in this room and she's about this tall. She's a little lady. She'll slap me in the mouth. Say Miss or Ma'am or Y'all or.
It's quite frankly, it's adorable. I love it. I love being Miss Allen. It kind of sounds like I feel like a preschool teacher because little kids, Miss Allen.
Maybe I'll color some while you're doing what you're doing.
There you go.
I'd love for you to walk us through, because like when we talk, you've got like 150 years in recovery, but you're only 20 years old. But walk us through, like, you said you had a long time in recovery. Take us back in time and put us in the room with you. Like, what did your addiction look like? And when you tell the story, just take us there with you.
Sure. Yeah. I've done this a bunch of times, so we should be, and I love talking about myself. So there's that. So we should be just fine. Yeah. I got sober April 23rd of 94. I was 25 years old. So I'm not going to make you do the math. I'm 57.
I'm doing the math on where I was at in 94. Sophomore in high school. With a head full of hair.
Yeah. I mean, I had a head full of crazy, so there's that.
I was drinking in 94 too. I was using in 94. I think that's around the time I hadn't gotten my driver's license yet, but I was wanting to do all the big kid stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to hang out with you probably, like, because you said you were 24, 25.
I was 25 when I got sober. Yeah. So I was all done though by the time you started, and I had a good stretch already. So I started drinking. I probably had my first drink when I was about between 8 and 10, which sounds crazy. But
8 and 10, where were you at 8 and 10 to have your first drink? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I was at home. So my parents had divorced, and my mother, I think she had probably gone out to dinner or something. It wasn't like super late. And this is a long time ago when you could leave kids at home and nobody had a conniption fit. But, I did have an older sister. She was almost 2 years older than me. So she and I were left home alone. Mom went out, and I decided it'd be a great idea to go for some of the booze that was in the cabinet. And mind you, I grew up in a good Christian home. Dad is from Kentucky. So I think maybe that's why I really love the Southern drawl. My mother was an immigrant from Mexico City, but they had divorced by the time I was about 7. And to just back up a tiny bit, there was a couple of things that happened in my childhood that kind of set the stage for everything else. And I had been sexually abused by a neighbor, and my parents divorced.
How old you were when that happened?
I was 5.
Seems to be like a common thread in trauma, especially with females. Please don't quote me on this. We'll have to go to Chat GPT to make sure, but seems like that happens a lot for maybe male and female, but especially females. Something happens, some kind of traumatic thing happens when they're younger.
It's so interesting because in the room, the experts say that 1 in 4 women have been sexually assaulted in their lifetime. And I would argue that in the rooms of recovery, that statistic is reversed in the sense that only 1 in 4 have not been abused. It's almost across the board that women in recovery have experienced some sort of sexual abuse. It's just kind of crazy. Yeah. And we're finding out more and more that men are also having really traumatic sexual abuse experiences when they're young. It has never been more acceptable to, admit and come forth with some of that stuff for men too. So it's not just women by any stretch. it's the guys too. But that was definitely my experience growing up.
Can I ask you, this question just came to mind before you continue going on. Do you think that the same trauma that you and I faced when we were younger, that trauma is going to be different as, I wonder if the rate of sexually abused kids goes down because of the different technology and things that go up? Like people, like when you and I were younger, we watched cartoons on Saturday morning, life was just different, and where would we, where were we to be abused like that? I don't think kids are in those kind of spaces anymore. Maybe, I'm not sure.
It's so interesting that you bring up a really good point, because in our generation, mine, we had way too much freedom, to be perfectly honest. We were not supervised the way our kids are, like, because I was left to, I sort of grew up in that era where they were like, go outside and play, come back home when the street lights come on, that kind of thing. Like there was no supervision. There was no supervision whatsoever. We were just like out on the town. And so that left us to be, there was a lot of, we were vulnerable is really what it was. And, those of us who had traumatic childhood experiences, we grew up to be super overprotective parents. They say that, I heard somebody tell me once, that underprotected daughters are overprotective mothers. And I'm sure that goes for the men too. Because my husband didn't have abuse per se, but he had neglect, which is a form of abuse, but he was pretty severely neglected. His mom, it was benign neglect because his parents were divorced and mom was a nurse. So she was gone all the time. So we kind of grew up with this totally unsupervised. We were vulnerable and some bad stuff happened. Yeah. Right.
Well, we just found things to do because we didn't have. That's why I was asking about the technology being different today. Kids don't go outside like they used to when we were little, like. So where would the abuse happen? It would have to be. It seems like it would just kind of, you would hope that it goes down, but does it go down because of technology or the way things?
Yeah, I think it opens them up to different kinds of abuse. There's a lot of like online bullying and things like that. My husband just saw an interview, the Sean Ryan podcast, I think it was, an expert in childhood abuse. And he was describing how children today are being exploited. And so you might think that your kid is safe because they're at home, but they're also being exposed and exploited in ways that we couldn't have imagined when we were growing up. So your kid might be at home, but they might be experiencing. And, this whole thing about sleepovers and stuff like that, like we never let our kids sleep over. And it's so interesting. In some of these social media forums, people talk about, what were some of the weird things that you experienced as a kid when you did a sleepover. And man, the stuff that's coming out is crazy. So yeah, people need to really be vigilant about, where their kids are for sure.
Oh yeah. I know we need to get on topic, but because I've got us all off topic, but that's just what I do. If you think back, do you remember anything that was crazy that you did on a sleepover?
I mean, that's where a lot of my abuse happened, right? Like,
okay.
Yeah. So mine, that's where mine happened, was a lot on sleepovers and stuff like that. And, as I got older, I had a best friend. I used to sleep over her house all the time. Her family became like a second family to mine since my home life was very dysfunctional. So I had a best friend and I was at her family's house all the time. And her parents drank. Mine did not. But her parents drank. And so we would often get into her parents' liquor cabinet and water bottles down and stuff like that. And yeah, we were at the house, but we were drinking.
Now, this is when you were you like that 8, 9, 10 years old?
No, this is probably junior high or high school.
I was like, so, okay, I'm not ever letting my kid go anywhere. All right. So tell me though about, you said you did try it at 8, 9, or 10, right?
Yeah. So the reason why I give you sort of a time frame is because it was after my parents' divorce, but before my mother remarried. There was a little period of time there, and this is the first drink that I ever remember taking. And Eric, I'll tell you, I remember that first drink like it was yesterday, the way the booze like burned my lips, the way it burnt all the way down. But what was interesting is when that drink hit bottom, this warmth that spread through my whole body. And there was like this juxtaposition between it's like suddenly all my self hatred and self consciousness was lifted. And all that was left was like this euphoric feeling. And it kind of makes me sad to think that at this young age, I had so much self hatred and self consciousness and self loathing already. But I did because of it was my parents' divorce was really hard on me. Little kids don't understand that it's not their fault. And our parents weren't really educated. Like there wasn't the sort of information then like there is now. Like now people are taught how to communicate with their kids so that kids don't take on the responsibility of like the parents' divorce. 'Cause I think in the back of my mind, there was always like, if I had just been better, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
You carried some of that with you.
Yeah, I learned from this. So I in the podcast that I have, I've been interviewing experts for a long time, and I'll never forget this one guy. He was Dr. David Spiegel. He was like the chief medical. I forget what his title was, but for like 40 years, he was in the psych department at Stanford. And I asked him, why is it that children of divorce, abuse, they have like this feeling like everything is their fault? And he told me, the kids often feel like they're dirty, they're bad, they're like there's something wrong with them. It's like, why do people, a victim, why do they take it on like that? And he told me something I will never forget, which was it's easier to assume responsibility and feel guilty than it is to feel powerless.
All right, say that again.
It's easier to feel like it's your fault than it is to feel powerless. The feeling of powerless is so painful that people would rather assume that I did something wrong. Like I was but that assumes control. It assumes I could have done something different. It could have been different, but it was my fault that it wasn't different. That's not even often a conscious thought. It's just it's like a natural response. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is very crazy, but it makes sense. That's why I had kind of repeat it because I'm like, let me hear that again.
Yeah, it's a self-protection mechanism. Yeah, because it's easier to feel angry than it is sad, right? Like the self-righteous anger. Everybody seems to.
Yeah, and a lot of anger comes from being scared of something.
Yes, they say that anger is a secondary emotion that typically you have to feel sadness or something along those lines first.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're boozing at 8, 9, or 10, going in somebody's liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
You had that warmth that covered you from the burn of alcohol. And I remember that burn too. Do you remember what it was? What did you drink? Was it like a vodka?
I don't. It's funny because my parents never drank, so I was never really familiar with the different kinds of booze. I just remember it was like a clear bottle and it was dusty. Like probably somebody, probably they had like a dinner party or something, and somebody left a bottle of booze. I don't even know what it was, but it was like a clear bottle and brown liquid is what I remember.
Yeah, I remember my first was it's called Canadian Hunter. And they mixed it with Mountain Dew in these red Solo cups, and I had like 2 of them, and I was obliterated. I mean,
that was your first drink
ever.
Oh my God!
The first drink I ever had was, I think my dad let me try some beer one time when he was with some friends. I kept nagging him, so he let me try beer and a little bit of dip or tobacco dip. And so not only was I like. Thought I was cool, but I was also puking my guts out from accidentally swallowing the tobacco. And so you would think that would turn somebody off, right? But in our minds, mine and yours, from an addicted standpoint, I don't know why that didn't turn us off. Like it was, let's go again and see if we can make it better. Because for me, I think back now, maybe it was like a connection I wanted to have with my father. I saw that. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And maybe it's different with guys and girls. But yeah, I just wanted to be kind of cool. I always wanted to hang out
Yeah.
with an older crowd
Yeah.
and just fit in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but keep it going. Tell us,
All right.
did you keep going in the drinking, or did you shift gears as you went through uh, middle school?
Yeah. No, well, it was funny because that night I got really sick, right? Like you were talking about, it's like I got really sick. And my older sister, she kind of cleaned me up and put me to bed. And she didn't tell my mom. Years later, I asked her, how come you didn't tell mom? And she said, because I would have gotten in trouble. And so that kind of gives you a little insight into the dysfunction at our house. It was like you didn't take responsibility for your behavior and you could be held responsible for somebody else's. Right. That was kind of the beginning of this like ongoing pattern, like the codependent alcoholic relationship that I had in my house. It was kind of yeah, but I obviously didn't become a daily drinker at 10 years old or whatever.
Right.
But it started this sort of pattern of binge drinking. I wasn't a daily drinker, but I was definitely a binge drinker. And I did drink in junior high. Like the only time I ever got in trouble in school was in junior high because I used to drink before school sometimes. I would, yeah, I would. So when my parents divorced, my mom and I did not get along very well. She was sort of like this rageaholic, which was crazy because she had these two alter egos. She was either really happy or really pissed. And I felt like she saved the happy face for the outside world. And, as a mother, and I raised two boys, I get how hard it is to like do your work day and then come home to like a messy house, that kind of a thing. And I was raised in sort of that latchkey kid era. So I would go to school and then let myself in. And it was interesting. My mother would expect the house to be clean by the time she got home, homework done, stuff like that. And I was just not that girl. My sister was the good compliant child. I was not. I was not that kid. So,
do you remember what would make you drink in the morning before school? Like, what clicks that
well,
says this is what I need to do? Or do you feel like that was just the addicted mind that was starting to take over?
yeah, it was definitely the addictive mind that started to take over. And where I was going with that story was that when my parents divorced, I didn't get along with mom, so I went to go live with dad, but I had to finish the school year in my school district. Mm-hmm. So I went to my friend's house, the one that had all the booze.
Perfect.
And so, yeah. So that's why I was drinking before school. And for me, it was like doing something naughty. Like it was an escape. It was like in my mind, I thought I was doing something fun. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what started the whole thing, is I thought I was going to do something fun.
Yeah, there is something too about like what you just said. It's just interesting that you brought that up. Sorry, I'm adjusting this camera, but there's an attraction inside the addiction because it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about being the bad kid, or just maybe not being the bad kid, but I'm going to do this because just to test the waters. I don't think I'll get caught. And then you don't get caught. And it's like the chase of that.
Yeah, there is some truth to that, what you just said about being the bad kid. Growing up at the church, I was always begging God to fix me. Like I wanted to be the good girl. I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. Well, I couldn't be good. I just kept trying and failing to be good. Like I wanted God to fix me. I wanted to be the good girl, but I couldn't be. I kept failing and I just gave up at some point. It's like me and God broke up. I decided I couldn't be good. So I was going to be good at being bad. It was like a total. And I think what's sad about that is this really deep subconscious belief that I was bad. Right. But I didn't know that I was carrying all this trauma. I was carrying a lot of trauma and didn't know it.
Did you have a relationship with your dad after the divorce?
Oh yeah, my dad was great. I had my dad was great. He set up I have an older sister, and he would come. Like each of us had like our own date with dad every week. like our own one-on-one time with dad every week. He was a good dude. My dad was a good dude. Yeah, he was a G-man. He was like a Marine, and then he worked for the government, and he had a job where like I didn't know where he worked. Like I just knew that he worked for the government. He was,
Okay.
yeah, but he was a good dude. He was
just
super
makes things happen. He's that guy.
yeah. He's funny because he was a very introverted guy. He was a very introverted guy, very like you would think because he was a Marine, he'd be like kind of hardcore and loud, but he was the opposite. He was very religious. He would tell me Bible stories and start blubbering. He like quick to cry and super tender hearted. He was like the most compassionate. He was a little enabling, to be honest, especially towards at the end of my drinking when I'd be like, Daddy, I'm broke. I need some money. And he'd float me some cash to pay my car bills. Yeah. And it was funny because I always had like 3 jobs. I had like this weird workaholism thing ever since I was like 13. I've always had like 3 jobs. But, you know, when you're drinking and smoking weed every day, you go broke quick.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the balance. I mean, I don't want to pull from your story too much, but there's a huge balance that parents often lose sight of. And it's trying to find the balance between enablement and support. Where they want to just take care of you because it's, you know, it's daddy's little girl or you know, mama's little baby boy. And they just want you to do well, or they want to know that they're just checking the box, that they're doing their job. And then sometimes they just get so lost in that they become an enabler and they don't even know it. But we know it because we can, as addicts, we usually get whatever we want if we try hard enough. And we are not scared to ask.
No, sir. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And it's so funny because my mother was the polar opposite. Like she had such severe boundaries. You know, she disowned me on a regular basis. You know, I'd ask her for help and it was like, absolutely not. You know, there was a couple of times when she would like literally hang up on me. Like she wasn't having it, you know, and then
and that's good too. I mean, I know it sounds mean, but
it was.
She probably can read between the line. You said she was from where again?
She was from Mexico City.
Yeah. So she don't play.
No, she didn't play.
You think that she knew what was going on with you? Any idea?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Like I hid it from her in the beginning. She just saw me as like I don't know how she saw me, but I was a troubled young woman. And she didn't know what to do with me. Like even growing up, it's like, you know, she kind of had these 2 alter egos, the really happy, but I had a couple alter egos too. You know, it was either Wimpy Wendy or Badass Betsy because I was either crying or fighting. You know, she and I were like oil and water when I was young. So I didn't spend a lot of time with her. So there was, you know, she didn't really see me in action, so to speak. I left home when I was 17, so she didn't see a lot of it.
I remember you said on one of our pre-interview call, you found sobriety pretty early.
I did. I kind of crashed and burned early. I was 25 by the time I got sober, but it took me 2 years of moderating before I came to the conclusion that I need to practice abstinence. Mm-hmm. So between the first drink and the last one, you know, I had what I would call a series of episodes, right? Like waking up the next morning and being like, what was that all about? Like not having a clue, like, you know, these 2 alter egos that I had just mentioned, it was really strange for me. It was like, I go out with the intention of having a good time, but sometimes like all my bottled emotions would just explode when I was drinking. And it either came out in anger or in sadness. And I just didn't act like normal people when I drank. Like as soon as I drank, like more.
Yeah.
I just wanted more.
I drank to get drunk. I didn't drink to socialize.
Yeah. It flipped a switch in my brain and I just was really excessive. I was also a big pot smoker. I smoked non-addictive marijuana every day for like 10 years. Yeah.
I love my pot too. Yeah. So if you were to go back, Miss Allen, and look at, you know, that last, well, you said you were, you know, those different moments of sobriety, but that last hoorah, if you will, of 6 months or a year, tell these listeners that'll listen to this show, and they're already followers of yours, or maybe they're following me, or maybe hearing this for the first time. What was some of the darkest? Like, what was rock bottom for you? Was there a rock bottom?
Yeah, I felt like I skipped along rock bottom for a while, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it got really dark for me. I remember I was just so lonely and desperate for love. I thought there were two things that were going to save me. I thought it was either love or money, right? I was chasing the knight in shining armor type of thing. And interestingly enough, it was love that saved me, but it didn't show up the way I thought it would. The way I thought it would is that I would find love, and that then everything would be okay. It's sort of like this idea that something out there is going to fix something in here. And I sort of fell into like that fairy tale, like if I could just fall in love, then everything would be okay. But I was so broken and had such low self-esteem that I really couldn't, I didn't want anyone that would have me. Like the whole nice guy thing is an interesting dynamic. They say that nice guys finish last. And
Dead last.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a reason for that. Like, as a woman, I felt like I was always told that I needed to fix something. Like you stand at the cash register at the grocery store, and all the magazines are like, get slimmer thighs, do this, do that. Like it's all messages of you're not okay the way you are. You need to be different. Right.
Yeah. And for guys, it's a little different. I didn't see the magazines like that. I saw the candy. Just wanted all the candy at the checkout. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, right. Like, it's interesting, all these messages that we get. And I feel bad for the young women today, because the standards, and men too, right? The standards are so distorted and unrealistic. But, I didn't like who I was. I had all this childhood trauma. I hated who I was. And, I would meet a nice guy and I'd be like, ew, what's wrong with you? Like, and wasn't really aware that it's like, I can't stand who I am. Why would you like me? You must not be good enough if you like me, because I'm so bad. Yeah. Right. This is all sort of like playing subconsciously in the back of my mind. It's like a woman that has really high self-esteem is able to receive that kind of love and acceptance. But if I don't accept me, then I'm going to attract other people that don't accept me. And so I had a real fear of intimacy and sought out relationships, like the kinds that, seeking out people who weren't ever going to commit to me, that kind of a thing. Like
really no real relationship until sobriety? Or did you meet your husband in the addiction?
Yeah, no. We got together when I was 5 months sober, and he was probably 5 or 6 years sober.
All right, let's talk about that, because people are going to hear this and they're going to say, okay, is it okay for me to date that first year in, or how soon can I date? So this is an opportunity for you to give some advice.
I would say, so I've been sober for 31 years. I have spent...
Wow. Congratulations, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. Yeah. 31 years and 7 months is what my app tells me. But and I've spent a lot of time in 12-step recovery communities. And over the last 3 decades, I've seen a lot of people come and go, and you witness firsthand lots of different scenarios. And I would say that he and I are an outlier, that it's not very common that people in recovery stay together. And I attribute our longevity to our commitment to practice, in the parlance of 12-step. The 4th step is a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, is how they say it. And he and I early on began this practice of doing inventories on ourselves. Whenever we would have an argument or something, or a disagreement, he would go off with the fellas and work on himself. I would go off with my sponsor and my girls and work on myself. And when we came back together, we were both ready to sort of own our part and make amends and change our behavior. And so that's a practice that has helped us to stay together for so long.
So you still had, because I think we did discuss this. You and I have and this is fine. We have our own views of 12-step programs and AA today and things like that. But you would say if someone's listening to this and they are 5 months in, I'm not going to say these are your words, but as long as you do what, do you feel like it's okay for someone to date in recovery that early on?
Well, so here's the thing. I think
you
it's
ask your
typically.
sponsor?
I think it's a bad idea, to be perfectly honest. They say that you should wait a year because what you're attracted to when you're sick will repel you when you're healthy. Is sort of like the overarching guidance, right? Because you change and evolve. And I don't know why, but he and I just fit together from day one. Like we were just like peas and carrots, as they say.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely an outlier. However, we were rigorous about putting our sobriety first. And I feel like, excuse me.
You're good.
I feel like that's what has contributed to not just the longevity, but the quality of our relationship. Like to this day, he is my favorite person.
Oh,
yeah. He's
sweet. I mean, I don't mean it like, but like, that's really
good. Yeah. No, he is definitely the best person I know. He's a really incredible person. And listen, we both have the same goal, which is my happiness. So that works out well for me.
If you think back, and you may remember, how far along in your step work were you at that amount of time?
Oh, that's a good question.
Do you think you had made it to the maintenance steps like 10, 11, and 12? Or do you think you'd made it? I'm trying to figure, I don't remember how far and how fast I went through my steps. I know that you're supposed to try to go through it, all 12 in 12 months, but some people go quicker. So I didn't know if you went a little quicker or not.
I don't know. I didn't get that far. I did have really good sponsorship and support, but no, I wasn't that far along. I honestly couldn't tell you. It's been so long. I couldn't tell you how far along I was when he and I started dating. But that's a good question. But it was utilizing. The steps are funny because you're kind of doing them all at the same time, right? Like you're always practicing all of the steps, but going through these steps in a pragmatic way as outlined in the literature, that does take a little bit of time. And I was only 5 months sober when we started dating, so I couldn't have been that far along.
I remember dating in recovery, and you did make a good point a minute ago. We find ourselves to become different people. My first wife and I, we divorced in my recovery, and it was because I was a different guy. I wasn't the guy she fell in love with because we did a lot together, but it wasn't all healthy, and that's okay. We're friends now, and I've talked about her on my podcast before. But then as people in recovery, we're fixing or repairing the bridges that we burned from the past and the trail we've blazed, however you want to put it. And so we do become these different people. The person you are now at 30-something years in sobriety is completely different than what you were at maybe 5 years. So we're continuously changing and growing. And I think people need to hear that. Like, people want this to go so quick. Like they just want to feel better so fast. I was watching a girl on TikTok last night who's just hit like 18 months and sorry, I got an eyelash. And she was crying on her TikTok, and it was because she's like, I'm still not happy. I'm still sad. I have a child. I'm seeing this new person, and she was naming all these things, but she was actually naming good things that were going on, but she hadn't made it to that point yet to where she just realized it. It's going to continue to get better. I sent her a message. I'm like, I'm proud of you for putting that out there, but just know that you're better than you were, because we're all going to be in process.
I would have to challenge that in the sense that we have moments of happiness that we so quickly bypass. It's so easy to latch on to the pain, right? And the pain feels heavier than the joy, obviously, right? Like joy feels light, but it can be fleeting. So the trick is to have a mindfulness practice so you can notice when things are going well. And the truth of the matter is there are 1,000 things that go right every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like I can blink my eyes. I can still talk. I got all my teeth. It's like I can smell things.
Got all my
It's like,
teeth.
you know what I'm
Are you
saying?
picking on me because I'm from Georgia?
Well, you look like you got all your teeth, or
I
otherwise
got
I wouldn't have
mine. I
said
got every
nothing.
one of them. Every one of them.
I know you have a nice smile. Yeah. But
No,
do you know what I mean? Like
I
there's
totally know what you mean. I mean,
there's 1,000 things that go right and we don't give it any weight because
Yeah.
we are so focused. Here's the thing, whatever we focus on expands.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're if you're solely focused on your pain, then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel for a lot of people in recovery because we are sort of trained we need to identify what the problems are so we can fix them. But then we go, well, why am I like this? Where did this come from? Do I have a mother wound? Is it abandonment? Do I have less than? It's so easy to get lost in the problem and forget to think about like what's working, right? That's why we utilize tools like gratitude, right? Like November is gratitude month. And so a lot of people are really focused on a gratitude practice. I still, at 31 years, do a gratitude list nearly every day. And I trade lists with like 6 people. Like I send them mine and they send me theirs. But just like a constant focus on what's working. What happens is like your brain will start to develop patterns based on how you focus your attention. And it's so interesting. There's a book called What Happened to You, which is a take on what's wrong with you. Right. And we think about what happened to you. It's like early childhood experiences, especially if they're traumatic, will shape your neurology so that you get triggered to go into fight, flight, or freeze by certain experiences that feel familiar. Like have you ever had, I'm sure you have, had a reaction that was disproportionate to the situation? Like you overreact for.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, you make a gratitude list every day. I overreact every day over something.
Yeah.
No, I mean, really. Yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, I've got kids that are still young. So, I mean, I helicopter parent and I overreact sometimes.
Yeah. So they say that if a reaction is hysterical, it's historical, that we're not actually responding to what's happening in the moment. We are responding to unresolved pain that we haven't processed to resolution. Right. I think of it like as a soul bruise. If I had a parent like as much as I loved my father, he was always playing devil's advocate. He was kind of condescending. And so anytime I get a whiff of that in my adult life, like if that left a soul bruise on me. And so anytime I brush up against something that feels familiar, I tend to overreact to that because it's unresolved pain from when I was young. Right. It's pain that hasn't healed yet.
So if you had come across the girl that I'm talking about on TikTok last night, because I'm going to reach back out to her and tell her what you said, you would encourage her today if you had saw her last night to make a gratitude list. Is that what I just heard?
Not just one, but every day, at least 5 things every single day. And the format to me is important. I always say I am grateful. And then I leave a space, right? But there's something really powerful about the phrase I am. Whatever comes after I am is really creative and powerful. It leads to identity, right? A lot of recovery is about recovering our whole selves, the good and the bad, right? It's about reshaping. Like I had an identity of party girl, right? And when I let that go, I had to replace it with something else. Right. And so focusing on my attributes, not things about me that aren't tied to how I look or what I do. So attributes like I'm persistent, I'm kind, I appreciate humor. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like attributes. So we so often focus on character defects, and those are important because we need to solve for that. You need to know where, like, I'm incredibly self-centered.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. Yes.
Most addicts are.
But if I know this, then when I'm in a relationship with somebody else, I can remember to be mindful to, when I talk to somebody, I usually ask at least a couple of follow-up questions so that they feel like I'm engaged, right? I'm not just waiting for my turn to speak. I I show some curiosity and some interest in somebody else's life. And so people don't experience me as selfish and self-centered like they used to.
That's really good.
Yeah, but to the point of that gal, it's like, yeah, we do need to practice gratitude. We need to actively start looking for the good in life because we have this negativity bias where we're always looking for the problems to solve.
Yeah. I think that's where she was at last night. She had started telling herself she has bipolar, she was bipolar and.
Well, she might be. Yeah.
And she might be. I mean, but,
bipolar. Like there are a lot of us with coexisting conditions like mental illness, like bipolar, borderline personality,
depression, anxiety.
Depression and anxiety. I land on the anxiety side. I don't typically get depressed. I get super anxious,
Same.
which is my whole coping strategy is workaholism. So that's kind of where I go with it, is the doing. I cover up the anxiety. And both are sort of rooted in this, I'm not safe, and so we need to figure out, ways that we can battle those thoughts with like mindfulness and gratitude practices and exercise and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I have to stay busy. When I wake up, my mind is on, and sometimes my mind is turned on before I even wake up. It's like it's already going.
Same.
And it's a great thing, and I worry about what I'm going to do when I get older. Like, will I one day just be able to enjoy life? I know that sounds super dumb or deep, whatever, but like,
no.
Everybody just not work or, want to do something like this whole thing came from, wanting to write a book. I wrote a book and then I started a nonprofit, and then you have this podcast and you have these classes, and it's just evolved. It's like my wife even said, like, where does this end? I'm like, I don't want it to end. I wanted to give it away one day, but I think she's not talking about recovery vow ending. She's like, when will you like figure out that you can now release yourself of this? And I don't know if I want to do that. That seems more scary to me than the thought of a relapse.
Yeah. So you and I are cut from the same cloth. I call this like the striver's dilemma.
Is that a real thing? So we're striver's dilemma?
Yeah. It was Self-Help Junkies. I actually started another podcast called Self-Help Junkie because it was like just like this constant striving for improvement. That can be another form of self-abuse because you can never arrive. There's never a completion date. There's never satisfaction. There's never an experience of achievement. There's no receiving, right? It's just
crazy.
It's just constant. And it's rooted in self-avoidance. And so here's the trick. The deal is you and I will always be active and creative. But instead of drawing from the dirty fuel source of I'm going to be busy and achieve so that I can feel better about myself, that's coming from a place of not good enough, to switching to an infinite energy source, that comes from love and creativity and sharing and giving and service. Like that is a fuel source that's clean and it's renewable and it goes forever. But this dirty fuel source of like, I don't feel like I'm good enough, so I need to achieve so that I could be okay. Like, that leads to burnout, disappointment. It leads to all bad things, which I'm very, very familiar with.
Me too.
Even in recovery. Yeah.
Me too.
So we'll never stop, but the point isn't to be done, it's to create from a place of inspiration and engagement and joy.
And I'm so creative, and it's not like I can make a movie creative. It's like, our brains are new, just like we're new. Like these ideas that come, like I throw everything at the wall, Miss Allen. Like I don't care how dumb it seems or how crazy it sounds. Like I'm going to throw it at the wall. I don't care if it sticks or not, but if it sticks, great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's every little thing that does. I don't know. I'm looking at the wall like I threw something at it, but everything that will stick to it, it's just that sense of satisfaction. I had an
Yeah.
article come out in USA Today yesterday. This little redneck
Oh,
girl from South.
congratulations.
Isn't that fantastic?
It really is.
I've
That's
checked the
really
box
cool.
though. That was yesterday. It's like, okay, what can I do now? Like, what's next? What's
Yeah.
next? You know what I mean? It's every one of these little boxes we check. It's like just mashing the gas just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are cut from the same cloth.
We should
We
start a
also
club.
had you and I both, when we were talking prior to this conversation, interactive, we were talking about our views of AA. I was telling you mine. I felt like we were kind of the same, and we don't have to be the same. That's the beauty in this, is that recovery for some people is going to be found in different ways. For me, I had to go to treatment. For you, it was stumbles, and then you finally got it at 25 or whatever. Because I don't remember you saying that you went to treatment, right?
I didn't know that was a thing. I ended up, and I didn't have any money, so I went to 12-step meetings.
12-step meetings, and I love a 12-step meeting. I went the first few years, and I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to offend anybody. It's just my point of view. I went to 12-step meetings. I did the AA thing, but it's like mashing that gas pedal. I had to see what was next. Not that this wasn't working or that wasn't working, but I was kind of challenging like what that higher power meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, things kind of catapulted when I decided to experiencing a church service and going to church and things like that. That worked for me, but I'm not saying that works for everyone. But I push people to 12-step meetings. I think that's a great place to start, or at least a place to try. Because some people they just go to 12-step meetings like you're talking about. Some people have no idea what they're doing, and they try to just white knuckle it. Some people go to recovery centers. Some people go to treatment, IOP. There's all these different ways to go about it. Did you do the 12 steps, and do you still do 12-step meetings today? Or did you kind of do a hybrid of multiple things what got you to stay sober for 31 years, and how do you do that today?
I always did all the things. Like I joke around that I'm recovery promiscuous because I will try all the things. Just like I tried all the drugs. Like I try all the recovery. 12-step has always been my foundation. And I was lucky enough to be in an area where there was like 800 meetings a week.
Wow.
And I didn't have any friends when I first got sober. I had sort of alienated everybody, and I was young. And so, my then boyfriend was in it too. And, he would go to men's meetings. I'd go to women's meetings. We'd get invited. It became our life. It became our community. And, I became a good speaker because I got called on to speak all the time. And I developed all these friendships, and it would be a place where I could go. I could see all my friends. I get some hugs. I get to share. I get to be of service. I had standing in my community over a period of time. It was a place. I just got so much out of the meetings, but I just want to make a clear distinction here that meetings and the program are two separate things.
Okay. Explain that.
Meetings are where you go to talk to people, hear their experiences. They say HOPE. The acronym of HOPE is hearing other people's experiences, right? Okay. And I would go there to hear other people's experiences, how they handled challenging situations throughout their life. Like people weren't talking about booze. They would tell their story, but they were talking about how they were living sober. Right. And I went to meetings where there was really good, high quality sobriety. Right. I would go to the bougie side of town and hang out with the doctors and lawyers and executives and, nurses and professionals and like that. Those were my people. I really, and I would hear all their stories and how they were handling like the challenges of their life. And so, and it was interesting. What's interesting about meetings and church, they kind of both do the same thing in the sense that we go over the same material over and over again because we need to be reminded of what we already know. Yeah. Right. And so like that's, being in a community of people who practice spiritual principles and things like that, it's good to be refreshed. There's a lot of information that we need to be reminded of all the time. Different information comes into play at different points in your life. And And so I think both those things and so that's kind of like how church is, but it's community, it's fellowship, it's service, it's confession, it's
the playground, playmates, play habits is sometimes.
Yeah, it's humility. It's like all that stuff. And so that's what the fellowship part is for. The steps are the program. And so I think people go to an AA meeting or two and the people there are dicks and I don't know if I can say that, but the people are unkind.
Say whatever you want.
You go to meetings and some of the
let loose and be as you don't worry about what comes out your mouth. Just say it.
Yeah. So you go to some meetings and people are assholes, right? And as somebody who's new goes to a meeting and they're treated unkind by some people who are sick, right? Like, listen, it's not the hotbed of mental health, right? You go to these meetings, people are sick. Some are sicker than others, but hopefully there's a few healthy people there with some good recovery that are into, paying it forward or giving back and stuff. And so you meet some good people. And I guess that happens at church too. It doesn't, wherever you go, there they are, but there's good people there too. But what I'm saying is that, the program is the steps. And so sometimes people go to a meeting and they don't like, there's three big trigger words. People don't like the word God. They don't like the word powerless, and they don't like the word alcoholic. Right. And what I would just submit for your consideration, that these are just words, and who gets to decide what these things mean? We do. But we often think I've heard it said that if you have a problem with God, you probably have a problem with somebody else's God. I certainly did. Like, I grew up in the church, but like I told you, like, me and God broke up because I couldn't be perfect. And
have you and God got back together?
We did. I met this gal and they were talking about God. And I was like, if this is what this is, I'm not going to be able to do it. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like this God thing? And she's like, oh, no, that's not even a thing. Get out a piece of paper on one side, write down all the attributes that you would want God to have, just for funsies. Just pretend that you can choose. So it was like, God is loving, God is powerful, omnipresent, omnipotent. I'm the favorite, obviously. Those are all the good all attributes of God. And then she said, okay, on the other side, list all the things you wouldn't want God to be. And I was like, well, punishing, judgmental, condemning, just all these things. And she was like, are you done? So I finished my list. I handed it to her. She ripped it in half. And she gave me the good sign. She's like, this is what we're going to start with. And I was like, that's it. She's like, that's it. I was like, oh my gosh. So that was like,
she did that to you.
That was my path back to God. She gave me God, 12-step gave me God back in a way that made sense to me.
What year in your recovery did that happen? Do you remember?
Dude, that was like first 30 days, probably.
Okay.
I just happened to, and so people at meetings are like translators. They say, this is how I understand it. This is what worked for me. And I was told to talk to the people who had what I wanted, right? Like if I wanted a healthy relationship, talk to someone who has a healthy relationship. If I wanted to be successful in business, talk to someone who's successful in business, right? Don't take advice from people who don't have what you want. Is kind of what I was taught. So that's where the fellowship comes in handy, but that is not the program. The program is actually taking action to do the steps are largely a writing exercise. And so it was me, meeting with my sponsor every week. She'd give me homework. I would go home and I would do the reading. I would do the writing exercises, and she and I would meet together and we would talk it out. And the reason I wrote a book called The 12-Step Guide for Skeptics is because I was a skeptic and was bumping up against all these things that I thought were showstoppers. And she's like, no, that's not a thing. There's a path around every obstacle. And because she made it accessible to me, I experienced this amazing transformation. Mm-hmm. So but I'm not like, that's the only thing that you have to do. Right. I'm not saying you have to do that for the rest of your life. I'm not saying you'll get loaded if you leave. I'm not saying you'll stay sober if you stay. I'm just saying it's a worthy endeavor to do the steps. That's all. And everything else is gravy to me.
I totally agree. I had experience a different places where these 12-step meetings happened. It had different names. I don't remember the names. But you're absolutely right. I had to work the program. It didn't matter who was in the room, but their stories mattered. That's why I started this podcast, Miss Allen, is everybody deserves to be able to tell their story, whether they're an asshole or not. It's like you have the freedom to share what happened and what's working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, because sometimes I would go to these meetings and these people would just say some of the stupidest stuff. Sometimes it made sense, and I was like, "Oh, that was really good." Time, things I must earn, or, I was allergic to alcohol. I'd break out in handcuffs. If I heard that one more time in a meeting, I was going to punch somebody. But then there was, sometimes every meeting I went to, I absolutely needed to hear something that came from it.
Yeah.
I have a love for 12 steps. I'd also have a deeper love for just this relationship I have with God and how it just continues to grow.
Yeah.
When I found, sorry, my wife just called, so I just need to turn that off. Hey, babe, I'm doing a podcast right now. Can I call you right back? I'm doing a podcast right now. Let me call you right back. The producer to take that off. Here's what's funny is that I told her on the phone earlier, I'm doing a podcast between like 4 and 5. And it is 4:59. Gotta love her. I was talking about the meetings though, like I took something away from every one of them that I went to. But when I got invited to church, and I'm not pushing this on anybody, but it's what worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a relationship. I didn't go to church when I was younger. I didn't have a relationship with Christ. I just didn't have any of that. It completely freaked me out. So if you Jesus juked me or tried to introduce me to him in the beginning, I wouldn't have went out or wanted to understand him more. Like, when you guys met at 5 months, like that was too much for me. I had been dealt a divorce. I had been dealt full custody of 2 little boys. One was still in diapers. And so not only was I supposed to be selfish for myself in this new sobriety thing, I had a failed marriage, and I'm trying to be responsible for 2 other human beings too. I've said this before, I'm a really good dad. I'm a horrible mom. So we lived off Pop-Tarts, Mexican food, and clean laundry on Sundays. But we made it, and they're fine. They're kind of grown now. One's 18 and one's about to be 17 next month. And the reason I give the shout out to AA, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for the rooms at Alcoholics Anonymous, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. That doesn't mean I've turned my back on it. I've just challenged it, and I want to go a little bit farther in that higher power sense. I should still go to meetings.
You could do both. You could do both. I still go to meetings a few times a week, and I do a tiny private little women's meeting, but you can absolutely do both. There was a sense of giving back, like being there for the new person. Like I was telling somebody, I had a period of time where I was like, I think I'm done with this. I think I'm done. And somebody said, well, it was a good thing AA was there for you when you needed to get sober. And I was like, oh, that kind of hurt. Yeah. Like I got mine. I got mine. Bye. Like, ooh, ouch. I don't want to be that girl either.
I would like to think that, you and I have given back, because I want to talk about your book real quick. Like, we've written these books. I've got a book, and we have these platforms now, this podcast, and that's our way of helping the new person too, right? But yes, I openly admit I need to go back to some meetings.
I mean, you could. I mean, there's 2 reasons to go to a meeting, and it's to be reminded of information that you already know, and to be of service to others, even if it's just listening to the person who needs to say the same thing that they've said 100 times before.
Yeah. I did recently go on a cruise with my family back over the summer, and I don't know why, but they had these private AA meetings on the cruise.
Yeah.
And I went to one every day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I met some fantastic people.
Yeah.
And they were all just on vacation. And it was like one lady, like she lives on a cruise ship. Her and her husband cruise all the time. And one lady had I think she had 50 years in recovery and sobriety. And there was one guy that was there celebrating a birthday milestone, like 2 years. And so it was just nice. I mean, it was nice. I made sure I made an effort to do that. I do want to talk about your book. Tell us what led to that, and how can we get our hands on it?
We can get it on Amazon. And really the reason that I wrote it is because I just felt like this burning need to kind of set the record straight, because there is a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of context and perspective that's missing. When people talk about, this is a funny dynamic. So it's part of the traditions that you don't talk about your membership at the level of press, radio, and film. And I kind of break that. You know, I do not
I was going to
abide.
ask you that.
Yeah, it's a thin veil. It's a thin veil. But times are different now. And they're public relations policy is based on attraction, not promotion. But what happens is sometimes people go to meetings, they have a bad experience. They don't know that meetings are different than the program. And so they say, I tried AA and here's all the reasons why it didn't work for me. And so that is a common thing that I've seen is people, and then there's all kinds of different modalities that have sprung up all over the place because a lot of people are like, this didn't work for me. And so there's all these different modalities out there. And I'm like, but when I ask why, so I've been doing the podcast 9.5 years. We're on episode 406. And I typically ask people, thank you. In the pre-chat interview, it's like, have you tried the 12 steps? And because I need to be sensitive to the anonymity thing. So I want to be sure to be sensitive around that. And when people say no, I can't help myself. I have to ask why. Well, why not? I have yet to hear a valid reason not to do the steps. I have not yet heard a valid reason not to do it. I understand why people are so deeply challenged, but in this day and age of online meetings and all that stuff, there's really no reason not to do the steps, to go to a meeting, find a sponsor and work the steps. There really is I have not, and that really pisses people off, but I'm going to tell you, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. Mm-hmm. This feeling of anger is a sign that your limiting beliefs are being challenged. It's a limiting belief to say something doesn't work for me, right? When it works for other people. And so what is the belief there? And so I encourage people to sort of lean into the triggers, lean into the anger, and see if you can get to what's underneath that.
But so you're saying if everyone were to try that, I just want to make sure I heard that right. You're saying that if everyone were to try the steps and put everything else aside, that they would find sobriety?
No.
Okay. Say that again then.
I'm saying the 12 steps are a worthy endeavor for sure, because it can be such a transformational process, right? So the steps themselves are really transformational process. It doesn't guarantee sobriety because people stop doing the things that help them stay well.
Yeah.
So it's you know what I'm saying? So it's sort of like you wouldn't eat one salad and expect to stay healthy forever. You wouldn't go to the gym once and think that you would be able to maintain. So it's like your sobriety is something that needs to be maintained and fed and nurtured, just like your body, right? Like it's the same. It's just like that. And so you can do the 12 steps and then go back to your old ways, and which will typically end in a relapse.
You're right. I've seen people try to do that and they walk, back through the doors, or think they can just do one or the other. Pills weren't my thing, so I'm going to take these painkillers and I just won't drink with them this time. Or, drinking only was my thing, so I'm going to be, maybe smoke pot or something like that.
And maybe that's fine I have met people who, I used to work for this company, and I was a technology sales executive. And, some of the people that I worked with, had, drug addiction issues. And, I'm thinking specifically of this group of women who were incarcerated due to drug use. And when they were released to this program that allowed them to work as inside sales reps for this company. And we'd get together for like sales kickoff or sales meetings or whatever. And they would drink normally. Like I never witnessed a problem, but they had severe drug issues and they didn't have alcohol issues. And listen,
That's so interesting to me.
I know I do not get it. I don't get it because I just wasn't like that. But here's the thing. After 31 years of sobriety, the only thing I know for sure, Eric, is that I don't know what's right for anyone else. I can tell you what I've seen. I can make suggestions, but at the end of the day, everybody's different. Like I know that there are some people, I have clients who are super high functioning and high level. I have a few CEOs who, are high functioning alcoholic, and they're kind of the slipperiest ones because they have all the evidence that they're successful, that they're not that bad yet. But they do end up, usually they come to the conclusion that they can't drink. But I just don't know I'm happy to meet people where they're at. I just don't know what's right for it. Like some people just need to learn how to moderate, and some people can do that, which is not within my experience.
Not me. I mean, as soon as I got enough liquid courage in me, we'll do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go wherever you want to go. I'll do whatever you want to do. We'll snort whatever you want to snort. I mean, really, I did not care. The drinking is what led to a lot of it. The drinking was my gateway. Like people say weed's a gateway and all that. Weed's not a gateway. And that's just me talking. It wasn't for me. The alcohol was.
Weed is like a couch. You just can't get off of.
Yeah. But I kind of detoured from the book. Tell me what's in the book. We can get it on Amazon. And what prompted you to write the book?
So just hearing all these misconceptions about what 12-step is and what it's not. Right. So I just kind of wanted, and I'm not looking at this through rose-colored glasses. So the way I structured the book is like, here are some foundational things you need to know, like meetings and program. Those are two separate things. There's different kinds of meetings. There's meetings where you can go to share. There's women's meetings, men's meetings. There's speaker meetings where you can just show up and listen. There's all kinds of meetings. I don't know that everybody knows that. Meetings are like churches, you won't like every church. You're not going to like every meeting. The point is to keep going until you find one that fits for you. That's kind of the overarching principle. But in the book is structured in the sense like, here are all the major, obstacles that I commonly hear of. People are mean. I don't like their religion. It's religious. It's not religious. It's spiritual. There is a difference. And a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. And redefining terms, like that is what will help you sort of get past things like God, powerless, alcoholic. Like you can redefine those words so they're empowering to you, or you don't have to use them at all. Like, some people are like, I feel like alcoholic is a shame label, and I'm cool. Don't use it then. Problem solved. Next, you got to keep it moving. And so in the book, I address all like A is a cult, or, I don't know. So all the things that I've heard over the years about reasons why people don't go, I just meet those issues head on. Let's just talk about it. Let's deal with it head on. And here's a way around that obstacle so that you can, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that people get the spiritual experiences, the transformation that comes from a process, and so that you can achieve sobriety, but not just sobriety, but start thriving in your life based on, principles like honesty, integrity, service, humility, all those things. So I'm really just trying to make it accessible, and I'm really meeting all the obstacles head on. And I'm not interested in fighting with anybody. Like if you're just so like closed-minded, you're like, no way. I think God bless you. There's a bazillion ways to get sober.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. I've often used that same example. Like you have to try it and find the one that works for you. It's kind of like going to a church or even a gym. Like if everybody was able to work out at Gold's Gym and that was the only thing available, and I'm not getting a promo to Gold's Gym, I'm just saying that everybody would go there, if it worked. So you have
Yeah.
to, be willing to go around and find out which one works for you. I believe you mentioned the different kinds of meetings. I love speaker meetings. I love hearing other people's stories, and I love the regular circle meetings.
Topic discussion.
Discussion, chapter discussion, book discussion, step discussion, all of that. It was great, but I really, really enjoyed speaker meetings too, because you talked about these different meetings you went to with the doctors and the lawyers or whoever, and all these people were successful. They had these different levels of what was success to them, and they were functioning human beings that didn't just were broke every day, or I'm just comparing myself to them. Like, I wanted to be like those people I was hearing from. I didn't care if they were male or female, black or white, or any of that kind of stuff. I just wanted what they had. Like, I wanted what they had, like I wanted the drugs I was chasing. Like, I wanted that drug, or I wanted that drink. Now I wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
And you get that from these different meetings. I don't know if I've sent you a copy of my book yet, and I'd love for you to send me a copy of yours. I wrote Marriage After Addiction because I talked about divorce. Like, you were so blessed that your marriage worked out. Not every marriage works out, but for those that are going to try to make it work out, I remember when I got out of treatment, Miss Allen, there was nothing for my spouse. There was to the wives, and then there was Al-Anon. But that was like, we talked about all these different ways that you get it. Well, the spouses only have those two ways, and you remove just that one because there wasn't a chapter to the husbands. So there's just Al-Anon. And so I wrote the book Marriage After Addiction, thinking about the supportive spouse and how they walk along in recovery with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to send you and your husband a copy of that.
Please.
Just so you have it. Not that you need it, but just, it's exactly what you said. It's saying the same thing over and over again. And that's what it is. It's some of the stuff you already know, but not everybody does. It's very practical. And it just kind of challenges you in some ways. It's written as a workbook. You guys can have fun with it. And I'd love for you to just, you don't have to do the work in the workbook, but just read through it. And I would love to hear what your thoughts are on it at 30 something years in recovery.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be my honor to take a look and give it a shot. I love a workbook. I'm obsessed.
Do you? Well, you don't love this sucker. It's 13 chapters of just pure joy. Just pure joy. Listen, Miss Allen, I want to say thank you so much for taking time on not only Thanksgiving week. This will come out in a few weeks, but it's Thanksgiving week. You got big plans for Thanksgiving?
Huge plans. So I live in Idaho. I'm from California, and my brother is coming out with his wife, his beautiful wife, and his adorable kids. And so he's only been here once, and they've never been here. So I'm super excited to spend the holiday with them.
You're cooking?
My husband, he's the cook in the family. So he's obsessed with a traditional. So he starts cooking tomorrow, actually.
What are you guys having? Are y'all doing like the traditional turkey?
Yeah, and we're doing a ham too. We're doing both because we have all these people coming. So we'll do the turkey. We'll have ham. We'll do all the traditional side dishes. Yeah, it'll be fun.
In the South, we deep fry turkey. Have you heard of deep fried turkey?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I haven't tried it.
If you get down to Kentucky, but yeah, they make big pots when you put peanut oil in it and you put these birds in it. And that's the only way I'll eat turkey. I'm not a big turkey fan. So we'll do ham and turkey maybe, but sometimes we do steak. And just
we're actually picking up half a cow tomorrow morning. So,
God, yeah. How many kids y'all got?
Just the two.
Oh, wow. Well, I do want to say, hey, thank you so much for spending some time with me on Riverside and recording this podcast. It's been an honor to not only chat with you before this, but just to host you on this platform. And I hope that all of your listeners that have already heard your story pick something else up out of this. And then listeners that we have on our platform hear this and they pick something up that just challenges them today and just reminds them of what you have to do in your recovery, in your sobriety walk, in your journey, just to make those choices. And I think you've pointed out a lot. And we could sit here and probably talk for a few more hours, but
easily
this hour,
we'll do another hour, but this time you on my podcast.
I love it. You just let me know when. Okay. Awesome. Miss Allen, thank you so much for being with us today on the Recovery Val podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Okay. You too.